22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You were tuned into Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. We are on every Sunday, 6 to 8, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. This is the first show of the year. If you see me looking around, I am checking the Facebook post to make sure that I'm streaming because I just got a notification. This is the first show of the year. We're starting it off with big things. It is a new year. I am kicking things off with the mayor of Mount Vernon, the newly sworn in 3 new council members of Mount Vernon, and then the council president. And today we're going to talk about the future of Mount Vernon. I don't want everybody, I know when a lot of people read this, they expect one thing or another, but I want to turn the page and I want to talk about, pun intended, how we move forward. The issues, the problems have been highly documented. Everyone has complained. We've exhausted all avenues of talking about that. We will not be talking about that today. We will be talking about how do we move forward and what is in the future of Mount Vernon. Before that, I want to give a couple of shout outs. Shout out to the Taylor family, my partner in rhyme, William B. Love Taylor. His father passed, and I just came back from Long Island. We lost our dads 94 days apart. And I literally just got back from Long Island, my first trip out to Central Islip, Long Island in over 30 years. And, I just want to shout out the whole family. I want to shout out everybody in Central Islip, and I'll talk more about that later. I want to bring in the co-host, Dr. Robert Baskerville, is in the place to be. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? Happy New Year to all the viewers and listeners, and allow me to take the opportunity to extend condolences both to you, AJ, on the loss of your father, which I've already done, but also to your good friend, Beloved. I know that you were spending time with him, trying to console him and, help to lift his spirits at this challenging time. And so, hopefully you were successful, and it's good to be back on air.
Right. And just before that, so for all of those people, You can go on Facebook and link and YouTube, and you can see, Facebook and Instagram, you can see the fun we had. Tried to take his mind off it. We performed a little bit live, and we had fun, and we had kind of a reunion of Central Islip. But you can see that on Facebook on your own and on Instagram. Now I will bring in our mayor, Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard. Welcome to the show. You are on mute.
I'm off now. Hi, how are you? Happy New Year, AJ. Happy New Year, Dr. Bob. And condolences, AJ, on the loss of your friend's dad, as well as your dad. You and I have spoken about your dad as well.
Thank you. I wanted, and we're going to go straight into the show.
Good to see you, Mayor Patterson.
Good to see you, Dr. Bob.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
I want to talk about the future of Mount Vernon. As you may have heard in my intro, everybody's talked about what the problems are. Everybody's talked about what's wrong, whose fault it is, all of that. We're not doing that today. We're turning the page. It is a new year. We're going to talk about the future of Mount Vernon. And I brought you on, and I thought it was only fitting. I saw the poem that Amanda Gorman, is that her name, did to start off the year. And I want to start the show off with that and then have you comment on it.
May this be the day we come together.
Did that freeze?
Morning we come to mend. Withered we come
Maybe
to
we're
weather.
not going to do that.
Torn we come to
You can
tend.
hear it.
Battered
it's
we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. We steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal, even if we never get back to normal. Someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return.
Mayor Patterson, we run into some technical challenges. Apparently, AJ has decided that it is our job to hold down
the building.
I'm sure that AJ is going to come back in a moment, and in a way, I don't want to preempt the discussion of Ms. Gorman's poem because I felt it, found it to be very moving. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you want to respond or.
So, I come across it, but, she said, may this be the day we come together, talking about yearning and learning, and that we may not have been ready for it, but we've been readied by it. So those are some of the first things that I heard in the poem, which I think is powerful. And so, as AJ said, we've talked about the problems forever and how are we going to move forward. So like the poem starts out, may this be the day that we come together. May this be the time, the moment that we as a city really, really come together.
May this be the day we come together. Morning we come to mend. Withered we come to weather. Torn we come to tend. Battered we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. We steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal, even if we never get back to normal. Someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. Those moments we missed are now these moments we make, the moments we meet. And our hearts, once all together, beaten now all together beat. Come, look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric in our hearts. We hear it for old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. Be bold, sang time this year. Be bold, sang time, for when you honor yesterday, tomorrow ye will find. Know what we fought need not be forgot, nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome.
So let me apologize for the technical difficulties. Came right back, kicked off the year, had a little streaming problem, I guess. But I thought it was important to set the tone. And I believe that poem sets the tone, not just on the national level, but where we are here in Mount Vernon. I thought those were powerful words. And I wanted to do that to intro you and coming on the show to talk about the future of Mount Vernon.
Absolutely. I mean, I believe her poem is amazing. We know that she is one of our newest poet laureates here in the country. And, you know, we've celebrated Maya Angelou for so long. And with the passing of Maya Angelou, you know, there's been many wondering if there would be a voice that not would replace her, but that could step into that space and inspire in such a poetic yet relevant way. And I think she is stepping in to that void and speaking to America, but speaking to our community as Black America in a way that we need to hear. She spoke about mending and tending and building, understanding that we're mourning and torn and battered, but we steadily vow to pave a way forward. Like, what is next and how will we agree? You know, years ago when I was doing HIV/AIDS work, American Red Cross had a series of posters that they put out. And on one of them, it said, "When spider webs unite, we can tie up a lion." And that's been one of the sayings that I've used for a long time, that individually, oftentimes we feel insignificant. Individually, we don't feel as if we could solve problems. But if we understood and we came together and used our collective frustrations, our expertise, our knowledge, our passion for our community, and we really came together, then we could tie up poverty, we could tie up violence, we could tie up frustration, we could tie up unemployment and low educational attainment. You know, we could do so much more together than anything else. And so that's why I've always said forward together, because it's not just me as the mayor. As I listened to her poem, you know, I'm a minister. And so I went immediately to 2 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, where it said, "We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed." And that is who we are as a people. We are a resilient people. We have been knocked down, we've been battered, we've weathered storms, we've made buffets out of scraps, right? And I think what we're talking about more than anything in these days is coming together unified and using our ability as a resilient people, pulling out the grit. We've overcome so much for so long that we absolutely could overcome any challenge and obstacle that we have in our community if we do it together. We cannot allow our individual and our collective frustrations to cause us to turn on one another. But how do we come together to solve the challenges that lay before us? And oftentimes I think that we are unique and that we're the only community going through it. Challenges are happening all over the country. And again, it's all about who's going to come together and find ways to solve the challenges and not allow the challenges to cause us to turn on one another and destroy ourselves as a community. So I'm here to work collectively and find solutions and find a path forward, because if we don't do that, trust me, there are people who are waiting to come in and do it for us, and it will never be to our benefit.
So there's a lot of naysayers. I'm not sure if I'm echoing. I'm not sure if I'm delayed. There's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of people. There are people who've given up hope. There are people who have heard promises from the last few administrations and had hope. And they're just feel like it's just words now. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I know you have a state of the city show coming up, so I don't want you to give out everything because I think you will spell out your whole plan there. But what can you say? What do you intend to do to move Mount Vernon forward?
Well, it's not, you say, what do I do?
Well, what do you, yes,
right.
as the leader of the city.
As the leader of the city.
You know what? Let me ask you a different question.
Sure.
Everyone expects one person to save this city. And I've always said politics was a participatory sport.
Absolutely.
And the residents have a role to play. What do you need for the residents to do to help you do what needs to be done to help move Mount Vernon forward?
Well, we always need the residents to become involved. And involved doesn't just mean becoming involved, coming to meetings and screaming and complaining about what your frustrations are. It's also involved. Mount Vernon is an ecosystem. We're connected by street, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. So some of the questions is, what are we doing in our individual neighborhoods to make a difference? Are we picking up in front of our homes? Are we picking up garbage in front of our buildings? Are we shopping in Mount Vernon? Are we putting our garbage out in the morning and not putting it out the day before and just kind of letting it sit there and be available to rodents? Are we volunteering in the neighborhood? Are we mentoring children? Are we helping our neighbors? So there's things that we can do within our neighborhoods. And then if you're going to be involved and you want to turn your attentions towards government, it's coming to meetings, understanding what is the responsibility of the executive branch of government? What is the responsibility of the legislative branch of government? And who are your people in your administrative branch or your executive branch? Who are your city council people? Who are the people on the board of legislators? Who's the controller? There are a lot of people who just don't even know. They're so tapped out, they don't know who does what. And so it's really a big lesson on Civics 101, where people have to get involved. Oftentimes people don't look to become involved in government until they're really frustrated, until they're upset and they're angry. But how can you become involved in government? A, to learn government 101, and B, how to even engage government to have changes be made. Like we said, it's participatory, showing up for your city council meetings, showing up for board of estimate meetings, or at least tuning in, listening out for facts as opposed to kind of just like salacious gossip. I think it's not just Mount Vernon, it's all across the country right now, where we listen to word on the street more than we listen to the word itself. And people get upset and angry and agitated, and they just come at the situation with so much frustration. And it's not always government frustration. Sometimes it's just life's frustration, but it's just easier to take it out wherever you can take it out. So it's not just voting, it's becoming active, it's becoming involved. It's looking at where you can volunteer. Are there advisory boards or committees that I can become involved with? Oftentimes we hear people saying there's nothing going on in the city. We have a youth bureau that has over 70 programs. We have a recreation department that's doing the same. We have an office of senior programs. We have a veterans administration. But, I don't know the last time some people have been into City Hall. I don't know the last time some people have gone on to the website. A lot of people use the internet for a lot, but they don't use the internet to look up and see what services are available. For years, our city website was outdated. We have launched a whole new website. back in October. It's up to date. We have social media pages. There's ways for people to get information. I know people are used to snail mail, but the amount of money that it takes and the fact that we didn't even have a postage budget for the last 2 years, or the ability to really send out anything, has caused us to have to rely more on multimedia. When it comes to seniors, for updates to a lot of our seniors, we put things in their bags and went to different buildings and gave information out. But it's not just us giving out information, it's also people seeking information.
Now, I wanted to ask you one quick question. A lot of people, so everybody's heard and talked about the DOJ investigation into the Mount Vernon Police Department. A lot of people don't know what that means. Where's that going? People are hearing, we'll probably could end up with a consent decree, a federal monitor that the city would have to pay for. Is there any insight that you can educate the people, inform the people?
That's a whole show. That's literally a whole show by itself. So where we
say briefly where we at with
absolutely.
That.
So the city of Mount Vernon, please understand that this investigation really started within the city. I can tell you that our administration in 2020 came in and got body footage camera, saw that there were complaints that had been made to the police department, piles that were just sitting up on tables and had not been addressed, had not been investigated. Our police commissioner, Glenn Scott, decommissioned the narcotics unit and he transferred it over to a violent crimes unit. We did more training with our police on de-escalation, duty to intervene, dealing with mental health. We looked at policies and procedures that were outdated and we changed them. We knew there had been issues. And so really, if you look at the details, back in April, really when Mimi Roca came in, we sent to her a lot of the concerns that had not been addressed by the outgoing DA, Tony Scarpino. We'd sent a lot of information up to his office. We hadn't gotten much back. It hadn't been addressed. We know that the Bovell tapes had come out talking about police abuse. We had asked the DA for information. They hadn't given us that information. We got the tapes from Bovell's attorney. It was our police commissioner that had those tapes transcribed, highlighted. We sent information up to the DA's office. The former DA, they didn't move on it. When the new DA came in, we sent our concerns and our information up to her. We had done internal investigations and it exhausted a lot of our ability to work on that. And we said, we've run into brick walls right now. We've run into dead ends. Can you please now use the additional resources that you have at a county level and investigate these things? So, we've never tried to hide information or turn information. I'm talking about this administration. We dealt with it head on. We suspended officers. There was an officer that was terminated. And then we went out and we hired our own external attorney, civil rights attorney, William Wagstaff, to work with us to further investigate some of these claims and then to deal with departmental charges that have been brought up against, police officers and concern around use of force and things of that nature. So from the very onset, it has been this administration that has been very progressive, that has brought information to the DA's office. The DA in turn, I guess, went out and tried to get their information and have turned the information over to the DOJ. Now, AJ, you were aware when I was in Yonkers at the YMCA, I asked Black Westchester and Damon and y'all participated and came in when I was working with the DOJ in my former capacity as the CEO of the YMCA, when they were dealing with the investigation from DOJ into the Yonkers Police Department. So the DOJ approached me as a community leader when I was in Yonkers to work with them around building and bridging the police community divide and finding out what the current practices of the department were. And if I was going to spend 1.5 years participating and working with DOJ there's no way that I'm going to be here as mayor, as the chief administrative official of the city, and not invest and not participate and not cooperate.
Let me I know because short of time, let me ask you. So using that example, and then I know Bob has at least one question. I want to get him in before your time runs out. And if you can do this briefly. So you experienced what happened in Yonkers. Can you speak to that? What came out of it and how the department fared afterwards, and maybe
The
so
process
people
in
get an
Yonkers
idea.
have been the
So,
process in Yonkers has been going on for over a decade. It's been going on since 2007. And that's what people have to understand, that this is not a quick process. They're looking at probably over 20 years worth of concerns that they've had here in Mount Vernon. You know, during my administration in 2020, we absolutely had a search issue where we had two elderly ladies, and that was questionable. We did training around that. We did discipline around that, and we wrote new policies around that. I can say that 99% of the things that we're aware of happened even before the administration. And so we're not tethered to what was done wrong in the past. I'm looking at this as an opportunity for them to come in. Whatever you find, you find. If you find that there was wrongdoing, then we act upon it. If you find that it's more urban legend than it's truth, then we'll deal with that. But I look at it as an opportunity to get a full and comprehensive look into our police department, our policies, our procedures, and our practices. And wherever we find wrongdoing, that we have an opportunity to correct it. That's what I look at it as. That's how I'm dealing with it. So I'm not afraid of it. I'm not running from it. My police department is not running from it. Our commissioner has said that. Our PBA president has said that. So with all of the energy that they came in to do the investigation, I hope that we use the same energy to solve any wrongs if there have been. And if there haven't been, then to say that as well. Look, I'm sure they're going to find something. I have my own concerns about past practices, and that's why we've created more training, more oversight. We've put our supervisors, you know, before this administration came, you had police officers who were being supervised by rotating sergeants, lieutenants, and captains. Now we have people operating at the same time. So if you're on a 4 to 12 shift, the same sergeants and lieutenants, you're all in the same cycle. So you're going to have the same people supervising people. We've expanded our supervision to make sure that our newer cops have the right training, and as well as they have the right oversight. And so we've come in and we've hit the ground running, making a lot of changes to the police department that I'm confident about. We need to give contracts and things all across the board, but we've already made a lot of changes that I feel really, really good about. And so again, I am not afraid of the DOJ investigation. We will cooperate with it to the fullest extent. And actually, it was our actions that prompted a lot of what's happening right now.
Dr. Bob.
So, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry that we have such a short amount of time to spend with you, because I do think that there are a lot more time that we need to review.
Yeah, I mean, half an hour is kind of like a disservice.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So, but I want to say, in keeping with the theme of the police, that the announcement of the investigation by the Department of Justice into some of the practices in the Mount Vernon Police Department confirmed my disappointment at the decision that was recently made by the commission on police practices. I don't know the technical name, forgive me if I'm not getting it right, that had reviewed Mount Vernon's police department and had made decisions about what was the appropriate relationship between the civilian population in the city. More importantly, one of the debates that took place was whether or not we should aim for a CRB, a Civilian Control Review Board, or something more comprehensive, a Civilian Oversight Board. And, you know, I was disappointed personally to hear that the members of the committee had determined, presumably, at least with some input on your part, I know that was their decision, to limit civilian review of policy simply to a review board, as opposed to oversight and formulation of policy. I don't know why the policing of the Mount Vernon police department should be left to police officials themselves who have a vested interest.
No, we absolutely, the commission did put into place and say that we want a civilian complaint review board. And they also said that they want them to have some type of enforcement powers. You're talking about what we see with some small police departments where they don't have police commissioners, they don't have a chief, and they have residents who are volunteers that oversee the police department. You're not seeing that type of system in place anywhere in this region with a police department of our size. Now, if you're looking at a small town police department where they don't have a police commissioner or anything of that nature, that's very different. We have a civilian complaint review board is part of our reform practices. And like I said, I would really love the opportunity to come on because the time allotted to me is a half an hour and we've already gone over that. So we're talking about issues that are real deep that the community deserve time for me to discuss with you. And the issues and the responses I'm able to give tonight are really superficial at best.
So let me.
So it's really a disservice to the conversation.
Right.
If we want to talk about the police department, then let's have a whole show that is dedicated to that, and not a half an hour where I was asked to come on and talk about a broad vision for Mount Vernon.
So that's what
granular. Let's schedule that.
That's what I'm trying to get to. So
right.
we're gonna do a special show. It might not be on a Sunday during the week or something. I'll get back to you and I'll schedule that and we'll make that happen. Closing out your time, moving for the future of the city, anything that you want to say about moving forward? And we'll do something specifically on the police because that I did ask that question and I know
that's a huge issue.
I'd answered that question, but I knew it couldn't be answered. We're going to do a whole show on that, so that we'll make that happen. But offline, we'll get together and make that happen.
Right.
So before I go into the council, anything moving forward? You got new members?
Absolutely moving forward. We will be presenting our draft budget tomorrow at our Board of Estimate meeting at 4 p.m. We will be presenting that. Our controller has only had 5 days to get down into the controller's department. We've had no visual sight into our city's finances in 4 years. And so it's very hard to make a budget without that type of insight. We look forward to the state controller's report that will come out hopefully within the next week or two. They've already given a draft report. We as a city have responded, so we want that to come out. We are looking forward to, we just brought on a new commissioner of Veterans Affairs. We are bringing on a new commissioner of Planning and Community Development. Very, very excited to bring Mr. Rouse in. He has over 25 years worth of experience in this region in planning, and that will help us to kick off and move forward with our comprehensive plan, neighborhood plan, zoning, rezoning of the city of Mount Vernon, and all of those issues. We will be bringing on a deputy police commissioner in the next coming months because we do have a vacancy there. I'm going to be bringing on a new chief of staff. I'm excited about our comptroller, Morton. I'm excited about our 3 new city council people because I want people who I can sit around the table with and discuss the challenges of Mount Vernon. As I've always stated, we're not going to agree on everything, but we are going to come up with the best possible solutions. The council does not work for me. It's like if you want to look at national politics, I'm like the president and they're like the Senate and the Congress. We're executive and administrative branch, but we do have to make sure we find ways to work together so that we could move the community forward. Again, no pun intended. We are looking to expand our economic development opportunities and economic empowerment programs here in the city of Mount Vernon, one of them being Mayors for Guaranteed Income. We will be releasing our applications hopefully before the end of this month, and that will allow us to provide $500 a month to 130 families, and they can use that to help with rent, childcare, food, medical expenses, transportation, whatever it is that they need. We don't prescribe what they can use it for. You have to trust that people know where their monies and their finances fall short. And so that's a $6,000 a year boost to about 130 families. We are excited that with American Rescue Plan monies that we are able to purchase, and we put in our orders for 20 police cars, an emergency service truck, a mobile crisis station, as well as in the fire department, more fire trucks. In the sanitation department, you'll see more new DPW trucks, garbage trucks, snow plows out on the road, street sweepers. You know, COVID has been horrible for everything. If we could look at any silver lining in it, is $40 million that we received and that we will receive over the next 2 years. That's going to help us to get back a little bit to ground zero. Mount Vernon has not invested in, you know, our equipment and capital assets for decades. And this money is going to help us with that, as well as it's going to help us provide some support to our residents who are hurting, who are hungry, who are struggling with their rent, some of our businesses and churches and organizations who need a little bit of a lift. And then, like I said, also help us to bring in the expertise that we need to help our small businesses stabilize coming out of the midst of this pandemic, and also help us to address some of the public health issues. And lastly, AJ, COVID is clearly not over. Right now, as of the close of business Thursday, we know that Mount Vernon had 4,068 active cases of COVID. 4,068 people who should be quarantining at that time, and those numbers will change. We do have a new testing site at Grace Baptist Church, which is open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you can go there and get a test. Please go on their website and look at our social media pages and things of that nature, so you can get more information about that. There is a vaccination site across the street from Grace that is being run by Montefiore, and that is open 7 days a week. 7 days a week.
Last question. Someone wants to know the information you're giving out. Is that available on the website?
All of the information is available on www.cmvny.com. We're asking everyone who's listening also, when you go on to cmvny.com, you have the ability to sign up for our newsletters or email blasts. And if you sign up, as the city puts out weekly, a weekly kind of what's happening in Mount Vernon and updates, you'll be able to get that to your email box weekly. And if there's emergencies happening in between, we send that information out. There's also the ability to sign up, go on to you. If you have Android or an iPhone, you can download the CMVNY Connect app, the CMVNY Connect app, because we push out information to the residents that way as well. And then we have so many social media pages for the city, for our departments, for the mayor, and for the different city agencies on Twitter, Instagram, as well as Facebook. And so, yes, Ms. Lucio, bring businesses, create jobs. And that is why we will be bringing on a director, as I stated earlier when I talked about what we're going to be doing, is a director of economic development and empowerment. And so we understand that bringing jobs into the community and expanding business opportunities is critical, as well as making sure that we are providing technical assistance and support and helping some of our small businesses gain and access capital that oftentimes they have a hard time doing by themselves. So there's a lot to do, AJ. Hopefully I will get another opportunity to come on.
So we're going to offline in the next 24 hours, 48 hours. We're going to plan at least one show for the police thing. And then we're going to probably give you another show somewhere, maybe before your state of the city or after your state of the city, to address the city. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
absolutely.
So we're
comprehensive plan.
We're committed to do both of those.
Yes.
And we'll talk in the next 48 hours. I knew we talked before this. I knew there was no way to get a lot of things in, but I wanted to just have an intro before I brought the new council members in. We were going to have you stay on with them, and you wanted to give them their time by themselves, the time that they deserve. So we're going to do that. So that's why we're going to switch to them now. But we're going to get the.
And can I just address one thing? It says, handouts or hand-ups should have transparent qualifiers. Yes, Ms. Lucio, they absolutely should. In the mayor's program, the mayor's guaranteed income program, those applications will come out and they will have what causes people to be qualified, and people will send in applications and they will be dealt with accordingly. And so everything that we do here in Mount Vernon, when we're using the taxpayers' monies, state monies, or federal monies, will be absolutely transparent. And people will be accountable for making sure that any monies that come through the city of Mount Vernon are handled professionally and properly. I've been handling federal, state, and local dollars for over 30 years, from in the tens of millions of dollars, and I've never had a finding, and I've never had to return money. And so, I look forward again to working with our council members that are coming in, and our new comptroller, and our county, state, and federal officials to bring the resources that we need to Mount Vernon, and working with our community to identify solutions, real solutions, not just the back and forth talk, not just the finger pointing, and not the unnecessary drama. But if people are really interested in solutions, I'm more than happy to sit down and work with anyone. So pretty much that's it.
So let's get together in the next 48 hours. And for anybody who has questions that they feel like wasn't answered today, definitely hit us at blackwestchester@gmail.com, and we'll make sure that the community has a chance to answer you some questions on the when we get you back on, and you have a chance to address the community, and we'll do all of that. Now we're going to go switch into thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we're going to switch into our council, our 3 new council members, newly sworn in council members. Let me just say first, thank you also for your patience. I knew that, and let me just address the community, the listeners. I did ask the police question because it was something a lot of people had asked me to ask. I knew that there was no way we could get that in with that half an hour. This is basically was intended to talk about where do we go here for the future, and moving forward. So I apologize for throwing that question out, and it was kind of a loaded question, and there was no way it could be answered. And we had agreed upon what we were going to talk about ahead of time. So we're going to make that happen. We'll do 2 different shows. We'll do a whole show on the police, addressing the police, the DOJ investigation, and we will do another show where the community can ask the mayor questions specifically. With that said, I'd like to welcome 3 newly sworn in council members of Mount Vernon. Councilwoman Danielle Brown, congratulations, the #1 vote getter. I just keep plugging that every time I see you. Ed Poteat and Cathlin Gleason.
Everybody.
I know a lot of people are going to want to ask a lot of questions. What I want to do here, and let me just set the ground rule, because I did throw that police question. That was my fault. Let me set the ground rule is that we all we've been hearing and reading and complaints about what's wrong with Mount Vernon. We've heard everybody point fingers at everyone else. It is a new year. This is what on the president level, they will call a midterm election. So this is the mayor's midterm election. We have 3 new council members in. And I want to give y'all a chance to talk about, pun intended, how y'all will move Mount Vernon forward. Your plans for the city.
Before anyone responds, though, allow me to take an opportunity to also extend a happy new year to all of you.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Congratulations as well. And I want to single out for a special congratulations, someone who I've come to know as a good friend, Cathlin Gleason. Danielle and Councilwoman Brown and Councilman Poteat, of course, I think y'all will understand I take certain liberties since you happen to know the Councilwoman.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
So I started off talking to the mayor, and before she said a word, I played a video that was the poem by Amanda Gorman. I'm sorry, I said her name wrong twice. Gorman, and I think it is very profound and appropriate for not only the nation, but the city of Mount Vernon. I want to play that first, and then I want to allow y'all to comment on the video. Here it goes. Oh, hold on, I got to start it over.
May this be the day we come together. Mourning we come to mend, withered we come to weather, torn we come to tend, battered we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. We steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal, even if we never get back to normal. Someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. Those moments we missed are now these moments we make, the moments we meet. And our hearts, once all together beaten, now all together beat. Come, look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember, not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric in our hearts. We hear it for Old Lang Syne, my dear, for Old Lang Syne. Be bold, saying time this year. Be bold, saying time, for when you honor yesterday, tomorrow ye will find. Know what we fought need not be forgot, nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome.
I thought that was fitting for the city of Mount Vernon, where we are now, where we've been, and where we're going. And I would like to give you all a chance to speak on that first. What you saw with the video, poem. Danielle, well, since everybody moved first, I'm just going to pick you first.
There you go.
Nobody stepped up. Nobody stepped up, so I'm just going to throw it at you first.
Yeah, no problem. So I think you're right? I think she spoke to the sentiment that a lot of Mount Vernonites feel, or Mount Vernon residents feel, right? That we've been fighting all along, and now's the time. We promised change, and now's the time to actually bring change, and not to make what we had in the past the normal. So I think that's what Caitlin, Ed, and I plan on doing, along with our colleagues in the council, Council President Thompson and Councilman Copeland. Is we plan on moving forward and fulfilling all the promises that we made during the campaign trail.
I would add first that was a wonderful poem. So thank you, AJ, for picking that. And Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to Dr. Buck.
Happy New Year.
I think the biggest change that you're going to see in Mount Vernon city government is a level of cooperation and collaboration that you haven't seen at least in a decade. Someone mentioned to me, this is the first time there's been 3 new council members sworn in, at least in the past 10 years. And we all understand that teamwork is crucial here. We all know what the problems are in the city. Danielle mentioned the residents want change. Many of those problems took decades in the making. So I'm not making any promises except that we're going to take politics out of governance and govern hard and then govern with a sense of collaboration and cooperation.
Caitlin?
Yeah, I just want to add that one of the things I took away from that poem is not to get back to the norm. Everything moving forward is going to be different. I think the one thing that we'll be doing differently, like Ed and Danielle said, is we're going to be collaborating, but I don't want the community to parallel that with rubber stamping, because we definitely, all three of us have very strong, personalities. We also have very strong feelings for the city of Mount Vernon. And we don't want to go back to the norm, right? We want to do things differently so that the city of Mount Vernon could be successful going forward. So, and I think that, I thank all the previous council people, because they didn't have a very easy time on their run for, as council members. And I think it's really an honor to serve the city of Mount Vernon, and you have to make very difficult decisions. There's going to be some decisions that we're going to make that are not going to be popular, but they're going, we're going to go out to the community. We're going to see what the community wants, and we're going to try and, put that together with the city's vision, the mayor's vision, and the city council's vision for the future of Mount Vernon.
Dr. Bob, I know you have some questions.
Yeah. So one of my observations in covering the city of Mount Vernon, both as a community journalist and also as an activist who was in the forefront of many of the battles, is that there has been a lot of confusion about what the respective roles of the various branches of city government are, and what is the proper policy to follow when there are legitimate disputes that arise from time to time over important matters. The reason I mention this is because during the course of my research, I visited the New York State Comptroller's Office, and one of the things that I learned was that the Comptroller's Office offers training to local legislators, local officials, that help them to better understand the basic mechanics of governance, so that everyone can operate on the same page, and we can avoid some of the unnecessary disputes that I really think hobbled the city over the past 4 years, and really increased the sense of frustration that a lot of residents felt, because none of us, even when we made a good faith effort, those of you who know me, and I think Caitlin especially does, know that I am a passionate advocate for, the community, if you will. However, and I make a good faith effort. I'm a well-educated guy. I read a lot, study a lot. And one thing that I can say is that I don't have all of the working knowledge that will be required to effectively serve as a city council person or other positions and address some of these challenges in ways that are constructive rather than and don't add any problems. So my first question is, are you as a body going to consider drawing on some of the resources that are available for professional development? I don't know how anyone enters into government without prior experience does not get the benefit of professional development workshops that will help them bring them up to speed. Have you guys considered doing something like that in order to obviate any kind of unnecessary disagreements with as you struggle with serious weighty issues that will, and you won't always necessarily see eye to eye?
So the answer to the question, Dr. Bob, is yes. We've already started looking into training because, like you said, no person knows everything about every position, especially being newbies to the job. So we've already looked into taking training with the New York Conference of Mayors, NICOM, as some people know it, because we know how important it is to come in and execute, and we know how the residents are relying on us to actually do the job that they elected us to do. So yes, we are looking into to training and plan on taking that training to make sure we're fulfilling the role of council members.
Wonderful. I want to just say quickly, Councilwoman Brown, my nephew is Parrish Rames, and he attended school with you, and he was very excited. We spoke several times, and he was very excited to see that you were running for the council position and that you had won. And so, that's another way of saying Thank you, Ed. I'm gonna figure something out before it's all over, man. A special one for you as well, brother.
So Parrish, I said hello. I haven't seen him in years.
I will be sure to.
Sure. Dr. Bob, just to add to that question, campaign promise that we all made and we plan to keep and do quickly is to ramp up the level of transparency that is in City Hall and definitely in City Council. That I want to thank Councilwoman Janice Duarte because she worked hard to come up with a system where now our meetings, our minutes, our legislation will all be online. So we want the residents to know that we said that during the campaign, and we very quickly, hopefully in the first quarter, can give residents the level of transparency that they've been asking for in the city of Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what Ed and Danielle said. Also, a great way for us to become more educated was the open door policy that the mayor created once we were all elected. So for the last few months, we've been able to meet with the different commissioners and really find out what their shortfalls are, also some of their wish lists, so that we can better understand what they haven't had, what worked really well for them, and what they want to continue. And I think that that's really important. Outside of like the formal type of training, we also were able to sit with commissioners and really get a better understanding. You know, as outsiders running for city council, I mean, we say outsiders, we're all community members, but really outside of that level of knowledge, it really was a huge help for us to come into office and just hit the road running.
Brother Edward Poteat, you mentioned the minutes and everything being online. Will that be after the meeting? And the reason I asked that question, I know in dealing with the hospital for us that were fighting to save and transform Mount Vernon Hospital, there were certain points where they were going to vote on a huge vote that would have determined whether it would lead to the closing of the hospital. And we were able to pull up whatever the agenda for the meeting was ahead of time to know if they were taking that vote then, and we were able to show up and speak on it. So, and that's why I asked, is this after the meeting? And if not, will there be a consideration of, if possible, putting the agenda up maybe earlier in the day of the meeting so people can know what items will be addressed?
So, Ed, if you don't mind,
please.
I'll jump in here. So, to answer your question, AJ, the meeting minutes will come after.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The meeting agenda will come before the meeting, and we've actually gone to make a change. Typically, in work,
I clicked on a button, and I think it took you off for a second and put you back on. So
Nope.
So repeat what you said, just in case somebody missed any part of that.
So you asked about the agenda and the meeting minutes, right? So the meetings do come after the meeting because it's basically recording all the important things that happen in the meeting. Now the agenda, yes, the goal is to have the agenda up prior to the meeting. As of right now, people, can sign up before 3 p.m. the day of a city council meeting to speak on it. But the agenda, the goal is to have that up. We've even gone so far as we're working on, and it may be done already or it may be done this coming week, in the work sessions. Typically you hear the council go through the pre-tally, the pre-agenda, and typically that's put up after the meeting, but we're working with city clerk's office to make sure that pre-tally comes up before the meeting. So even in the work session, we're working to have that transparency so that you know exactly what people are putting on the agenda or delaying or have more questions on. And we've heard a lot of residents have concerns about that. So that's something we're trying to address as far as transparency goes.
I think that would go a long way. Like I said, that helped a lot in our fight for the hospital and knowing when to go up, when they were going to take these votes. Mm-hmm. And again, Caitlin, you will be familiar, that also helped knowing the agenda of the Westchester library systems when we were fighting for the central library status,
Absolutely.
knowing
Yep.
that they were going to vote that night, and we all showed up in numbers.
Right.
And they claimed that they wasn't going to vote. Then, that it was never on the table. But we
scared them.
But again, we knew ahead of time that was on their agenda.
Sure.
And we showed up in great numbers.
Yeah, and I think as a taxpayer, going to the meetings and not really having an understanding until you walked in the door and, took the sheets of paper that the clerk had out, it became frustrating because you didn't have that much information to understand what was on it. So, like I said, there's going to be some nuances that, will be very helpful to the community so that they have a better understanding of what the council is voting on, what legislation's coming up, what ordinances are coming up, and so forth.
Brenda Crump mentions that the council and the city, I guess, should consider using a program called board docs. Council members, will y'all please look into the program? I believe the school board uses board docs.
Yes, in the library, the Mount Vernon Public Library uses board docs, but I believe that the city had purchased a computer system that they're updating currently. So we'll look into it further.
So on the issue of transparency, my sense as a close observer of the workings of the city government is that much of the substantive discussion about city council, about policy and legislation that the city council formulates largely takes place outside of the public eye in the working sessions. And when I've been in city council chambers,
Bob, I gotta stop you. Bob, I gotta stop you right there. The community is welcome to come to the work sessions. So even though the discussions are taking place, the community is absolutely welcome. The only time the community would not be privy to something if there was something sensitive going in executive session.
Right.
They just can't comment on it in the work session.
Well, I'm glad that you clarified that, Councilwoman, because the widespread perception, at least until recently, was that those were by invite only at best. Perhaps I'm mistaken, but I'm happy to know that those are open sessions now. But that does raise a question for me, because ordinarily the working sessions take place in the inner chamber or that smaller room.
Yeah.
So the work sessions actually take place in the city council chambers, right? And we go into executive session in the smaller room.
Yeah, but there has been times where the city council's work session, if there was nobody invited to speak, it would happen in the smaller office there, just off the chamber. The public is welcome. The public is welcome, and if a large number of people come, it can be switched over to the council chambers.
I just want to add, and so Bob, I have, and Denise Cardoza Branch just said, I used to attend all the work session meetings. I used to attend several of the work sessions. They are absolutely open. They were in a small room though, and you just can't speak. Like in the council, you can sign up. The council meeting, you can sign up to speak. Like you just can't speak. You can sit and listen, but you can't speak and ask questions. But you can attend it though.
Right, but that's what the council meeting is for. So
right.
The session is the deliberation, okay? And then the city council meeting, which is 48 hours later, the public is more than welcome to come and put their name on a list by, I believe it's 3 p.m. that day, and then they can come and speak on that subject. I think, Bob, a lot of the community is of the understanding that they can't come to a work session, and then there's
right, that was always my.
No, you're welcome to. Of course, there's invited guests at the work session to speak to the council. If it might be a commissioner, it might be an outside consultant, or a project that might be coming that they want to potentially present to the public. So just so the public knows, you're absolutely welcome to come to a work session, and I encourage it. And again, yes, it happens in the smaller office, but if there's a large number of people, it could always be moved over to the city council chamber.
The mayor said the work session meetings are now held in the large council chamber on Monday nights and have been aired live on Facebook for the past 2 years.
Well, I
Right.
appreciate
Because of COVID.
And that's a critical point, which is we definitely want you at the work sessions, and you don't have to leave your house, right? Because now you can view all the work sessions online. So there's no reason why if a resident wants to come to a work session and wants to listen in, that they shouldn't, and they can listen from the comfort of their own home.
Since this is the body that creates, I guess, legislation, right, or rules or whatever, one of the things that has come up earlier in the show, throughout the show, and in very other shows, is the lack of civics, the training of civics in the city of Mount Vernon. Is there something that the council would be open to do? I don't know if it's a passing of legislation or making some kind of appointment or something or whatever to create civic training for the community, because I believe a more informed community leaves a more informed electorate, and helps the community be more involved and know what to be involved in, and understanding the positions that each elected official have. Because I've gone to council meetings where council members were yelled at for things that were not under the council's purview, and they couldn't do anything about it if they wanted to. So, you know what I'm saying? And that comes from partially a lack of understanding of what the positions each elected official, what is the role of this elected official? What is the role of this elected official? What does the mayor do? What does the controller do? What does the council do? I believe that basic training should be in schools, but is there something that, I don't know, the council can come up with and work with whoever and, create some kind of training for the community that wants to learn more?
or informational pamphlet.
Yep, there you go. Something.
AJ, what I'll say is, can you work with us on that? That I'll be honest, this is the first that we're hearing of it, but it's one thing to come up with it, which I think makes a lot of sense, but then you have to get the information out, right? And so let's keep talking about it, right? We can try to come up with a program, and then it's working with people like you and Dr. Bob to get that information out. So whether it's a PowerPoint or brochure or video, we can think through how that looks.
So absolutely. Denise said again the charter, and I want to say, and there's a reason I'm saying this. Over the last, Black Westchester has been in existence for almost 8 years, and over 8 years, I have heard everybody tell me what the charter says. That and I've heard so many people misquote and misappropriate what the charter allows someone to do and not do, and what people don't understand the charter, and the teaching of the charter should be part of the civics training. And anything that I can do, I will sit in on any meetings to help come up with anything with any members of the city government or whoever who wants to do that.
I'll just add that it's a worthwhile undertaking, because I think the root of much of the broader public frustration that only exacerbated a lot of problems that we had over, let's say, the past 5-6 years has been this misunderstanding about exactly what the charter requires of our elected and even appointed officials. It is written in very technical legalese, and I've pored over it, trying to understand and to get a better handle on it. And it really is not easy. I would have to start from scratch. And I've literally read the whole charter at least 5, 6, 7 times. And to answer definitively any question now about what the different positions are obligated to do will require me to go back and reread it again. And so it would be helpful. I mean, this would be in keeping with a broader kind of trend in which elected officials are trying to keep the citizenry apprised of what's going on by making documents more accessible, and maybe translating it from some of the original technical legalese that the ordinary layperson cannot understand, no matter how well educated you may be.
I just want to add one thing, and this is my take on it. The charter right now is like the Bible. I've heard so many scriptures used in so many ways to make so many points that is not what it says. And people are doing the same thing with the charter. I'm talking about elected officials. I'm talking about community people. I'm talking about organizations. I'm talking about everybody. And I'm saying over my last 7.5 years, that's what I've seen. There are a few people that have a great grasp on what the charter actually says or what the charter actually is. So I just want to, I would sit in any meeting with anybody who wants to help put something together. And I think
it's a great idea. It's a great idea that we will definitely look into simplifying. That way, you know, the community can really have a better understanding of each branch of government.
There you go. Dr. Bob, questions?
In addition to making the charter more accessible, I think another trend towards greater transparency and public involvement in local governments has been more transparent budgeting, even in some instances, participatory budgeting. Now, again, you know, I've made a good faith effort to try to understand the city finances based on the documents that are published by the Comptroller's Office, the budget. I must say that it is extremely difficult to understand. And I think if we just want to clarify any unnecessary tensions that arise from widespread mistrust, we've got to, as city council members, I would urge you to consider making those kind of reforms that would just allow people to just better understand, hey, how the money is spent and the actual budgetary process, and when, you know, the timeline for approving budgets, because at least we would be less prone to, I think, accuse one another of acting in bad faith when in fact people are trying their best.
Right. The one thing I would tell you guys is that we're very lucky that we have a new comptroller in place, Reverend Dr. Darren Morton. I also think that the quarterly reports that we were so used to having under Maureen Walker will be more readily available once we have a better idea of what the city's finances are. You're not alone. You're like the rest of us. We're going into government, you know, kind of not really having a great fiscal picture. Right. But he's working double time to get everything straight and at least have a good understanding of what money has been spent and where we need to spend it going forward. So I'm confident that those things that you speak of will get back to normal under Dr. Darren Morton.
I just want to add, in my experience over the 7.5 years, most people do not understand the budget process. We've had previous elected officials talking about my budget and their budget. It doesn't work like that. There are not 2 and 3 different budgets, and people don't understand. They just don't understand. So and the word I was looking for, Bob said reforms. I said legislation. Reforms would probably be a better word. Now, Brenda had a question that I think is great. Council members, can you please talk about how, what, when will the sound system of the city live streaming be addressed? There has to be a more quality system of streaming to inform, enlighten, educate, and empower the community so that the community can become more involved and engaged. Would anybody like to tackle that one?
Yeah, so I guess I have a question. Are we talking about the sound system in city council chambers? Or are we talking about the live streaming from the city as a whole? So I know, you know, for our annual statutory meeting, we had some audio challenges. We're actually looking into, you know, how to rectify those. That's something we've addressed with the city clerk already. So I'm not sure if that's what Ms. Crump is talking about, or as a whole. Yeah, but so the question to your answer, if you're talking about the city council chambers, is that we are.
She said all meetings.
Okay. So I can try to bring this up with administration as well. But it's something we have to look into to make sure that audio is being heard by all.
Nicole Lucio said something about bringing back the Charter Revision Commission. Is that a plan to, I think because the Charter Revision Commission, I believe, was to review the charter and then make recommendations on things that can be updated, addressed. We found out from previous administrations, people we have maybe what you call some loopholes, some things that we believe says one thing, but legally it doesn't really say that, and legally it doesn't really mean that, and we've had issues before previously. So I believe, will there be a bringing back of the Charter Revision Commission to do an assessment and suggestions on the charter?
That would be a question for the mayor, but we would definitely advocate for that. I believe that there is the intention of bringing back the Charter Revision Committee. And again, there's a lot of things that Ed, Danielle, and I have reviewed in the charter where we're like, oh, wait a minute. That's gotta be adjusted.
Okay. So
comments.
Can I, I was gonna say, before anybody says any further, you said that would be a question for the mayor, and the mayor said comprehensive plan and charter review commission will come back in 2022. So that answers it. I wanted to start off with y'all, but now we also have a new council president, and I want to invite him to the conversation, for the rest of the show. Welcome to the show, council president, Derrick Thompson. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Good evening, council, and everyone else. Dr. Bob.
Hey.
AJ. How's everybody?
Council President, how are you? Happy New Year to you, brother.
Happy New Year.
Bob, kick it off. Do you have any more suggestions, questions, concerns?
Well, so I mean,
can I?
Sure.
Something was addressed. Robin Mack said, Brenda Crump, all statutory meetings are live streamed, including the Tree Advisory Board. I don't know if that answers the question, but I just wanted to put that out. But go ahead, Bob.
So, ordinarily, a legislator usually has a legislative agenda that identifies the key priorities for the year. And although we've had a rather informal discussion, now that we have you here as council president, I know that you are not solely responsible for putting together the legislative agenda for the council for the year, but I'm curious to know if you can give us any insight as to what are the main goals that the council has this year as we seek to address, the challenges that the city faces.
Wait, can I ask a question? I want you to hold on to that. I want to ask, because I don't know, and I want to make sure things are done in proper order. Are 4 of y'all allowed to be on my show at a time? Is that some kind of quorum or something? Is that
it was a quorum when you had the 3 there, but it follows the open meetings law because this is live, so that's fine. This is not a private meeting, so
okay. So y'all can. I just wanted to ask that before anybody said another word. Like I didn't want to violate.
AJ.
What you said?
It would have been too late.
Oh, okay. Well,
when you have more than 2 council persons, you have a quorum. So you started off with 3. You were already in the quorum before I got in here.
Oh, okay. So it's.
But it's not a private meeting, so you're safe.
Okay, so that is the answer. Now, Bob, you may have to repeat your question because I don't know if they remember. But
I'm sure the council president gets the gist of the question.
So we collectively are the body of the council, which consists of 5 council persons. We are going to be sitting at the table to ensure that we do everything that's needed for the city, right? So it's going to take a lot of brainstorming on all of our parts. as well as working collectively with the mayor and the comptroller to ensure that we're doing everything that's for the betterment of the residents of the city. So is there a specific answer? Absolutely not. There are so many things that have to be fixed within our community. All of us know what the challenges are. All of us know what the problems are. The key to it is all of us coming to the table collectively to say, let's round table and see how we can best adjust what's happened to our city and just move forward doing the right thing by the residents.
Dwayne Murray said something. I'm going to read what he said, but one of the things I wrote in the open letter, and I wrote it to everybody, the elected officials, the community. There's been an ongoing, what I have nicknamed, rightfully or wrongfully, the city war in City Hall. For the last few administrations, no matter what's in there, since there's been 13 or 14 separate different council persons since I've been in business, there's been 3, maybe 4 mayors if you count Andre Wallace. Now we're going on 3 controllers. And the civil war in City Hall has never gotten any better and sometimes has gotten worse. But Dwayne specifically says the best thing the city council can establish is the ability to work together even when they disagree. Walking in lockstep is not required to achieve good working environment. The commitment to a good working environment can be sustained even through a difference of opinion. Blessings to you all.
You know, that ties, if I may, that ties inside with the video you played earlier with Amanda Gorman, right? Mm-hmm. She said, may this be the day we come together. She also said, we must always pave a way forward. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. We heed the old days spirit in a new day's lyric. It defines us, binds us as one. So no one person can do what the city needs to be done, right? It's collectively coming to the table. And if I say, we had a comptroller before who was in position for 23 years, who ran for mayor twice. We had another comptroller who served for 4 years, who did absolutely nothing for our city. Now we have a new comptroller. We had other mayors in position who ran just for namesake, if you will, but really didn't do anything for the community. I'm not putting any names out there. I'll just let you use your imagination, because we all had to live through the trauma of what elected officials did to our city. However, you have people in place now. You have the 5 council members, Cathlin Gleason, Danielle Brown, Ed Poteat, Derrick, Thompson, and Lisa Copeland, who are actively working together to ensure we do the best by the city. Also, you have us working along with the new comptroller and the mayor collectively doing what's right for our community. So it's no big I and little you. It's saying, what can we do as a whole? Yes, and the myth is, for far so long, everyone has thought that just because you are in a different seat, that you have to be at each other's throat. And you don't have to be at each other's throat. You have to say, our common ground are the citizens of this great city. So what are we doing to ensure that our citizens are safe, our citizens are proud of the city in which they live, and our citizens are getting the services that they need?
So I'm going to go to this next question. So it would be, I can assess, and from what I'm hearing, we should look forward to, even if y'all agree to disagree, the end of this long-going civil war in City Hall, and
Absolutely.
And actually working your ideas and collective ideas and differences to move the city forward, because that would be a major improvement in getting something done.
Absolutely. The thing is, we will disagree. We're human beings, so we will have some
No, I
disagreements.
expect that.
But it's how we handle those disagreements is a difference that you're going to see. A lot of people who had disagreements are. And I'm always candid and I shoot straight from the hip. I don't sugarcoat anything. So y'all have to excuse me sometimes because sometimes I speak and it sounds harsh, but I just believe in shooting straight from the hip and always being truthful because you can always remember truth than try to remember somebody's lies. So, but we had so many people in positions who wanted to run for the next seat. Right. And that bitterness of you wanting to run for the next seat, whatever that seat may have been, cause you to have so much friction because now you want a seat opposed to concentrating on the seat you have and doing what's best for the community. So it's been a lot of that, and this didn't just start. This has happened for decades upon decades, and everyone has been at each other's throat just trying to get the next seat, opposed to saying, "Hey, this is the seat I ran for. This is the seat that the residents entrusted me with, and because they entrusted me with this, let me do the best I can in the seat that I had."
I have a question from Cynthia Turnquest Jones.
Oh, her question costs $5 per letter. Cynthia, no, just
that I personally would like to hear the answer to. Is there a way to have a moratorium passed for no more churches and dollar stores?
Well, listen, okay, listen. I love the dollars. No, let me stop. But we can't impede on how people utilize their property. So if I'm a property owner, I would be upset if the city said what I can and can't do specifically with my property that's going to help me pay my taxes. So I get it. The city is plagued with a lot of churches and plagued with a lot of dollar stores. And we do need some businesses coming in to further bring the revenue that we need the city to have. But we also have to take the mindset of when these businesses come into our community, make sure we're out there supporting them. We have to support the businesses that are here. We say we don't have, but then when we do have, we don't support. So we got to be supportive of the businesses that come into our community. And if there's businesses that we don't like, don't support those businesses. And I guarantee you they'll move on so we can have the other businesses that we need. We don't need a moratorium for that. Just support the businesses you like to see.
I do want to. Can I say? I'm going to go to Bob now. Is there, in some communities, there are zoning laws where you can't have a certain amount once you get. There's zoning laws. There are something that can that be looked into.
That can absolutely be looked into, but we have zoning laws all over the city, and then when you see developers come in, they ask for what you call variances, right? And a variance is just asking to do something that's not normally done in that area or at a specific location. So there's a lot of things that we can look into to ensure that we're doing the best. Are we all going to know anything? Everything? No, but collectively, we can ensure that we're looking into it together to make sure that we're making right decisions.
Also, I'm sorry, guys. I just want to interject for half a second and piggyback off of what Derrick said. And also the previous question that was asked too, which is, I think what this council, Councilwoman Gleason, Councilwoman Brown, Council President Thompson, and Councilwoman Copeland bring, and myself, is we understand it's about taking the ego out of politics and taking the politics out of governance. So what does that mean? By doing that, if we can bring stable government to the city of Mount Vernon, businesses will then want to come. As a business owner that they're choosing between us, New Rochelle, Yonkers, and possibly White Plains and the Northern Bronx. And what they've said is, things are so unstable in Mount Vernon, why would I make that investment here? So we now have to show them that there is a stable government that's not going to be having these civil wars, and then businesses will say, sure, I will invest $200,000-$300,000 to open up my restaurant or my other store here versus going somewhere else. So how we govern will then help, not through a moratorium, but by just proper governance to then bring businesses to our city that aren't churches and or dollar stores.
Bob, can I interrupt you real quick and add something or throw something out there and then come to you next, if you don't mind? Melissa Patterson wrote, I apologize for signing in late. Is there a city-wide plan? If not, will the council look into one of 5 to 10 year plan? I don't know. I want to ask a question, and I don't know if the council is the person, and if the can answer, and if the mayor is still on. I believe, and if I'm wrong, please correct me.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
The last master plan for the city was 1960 something. Clinton tried to put one through, but it never got officially passed or whatever. We don't have a master plan for the city.
You're talking about a comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan. That's
yes.
The comprehensive plan of what can and cannot be built throughout the city. So we look forward to working along with the mayor to bring a comprehensive plan forward. And when you have a comprehensive plan in place, a lot of things that come before the mayor and the council you wouldn't see, because the first chain of command is that comprehensive plan, right? The do's and don'ts of what you can do within the city, whether it's Mount Vernon or elsewhere. So we do need an active comprehensive plan in place, definitely.
Okay, yes, because that's what, I definitely want to personally, not even as Black Westchester, as a resident of Mount Vernon, that this city have a comprehensive. Other cities have this, and you can't come in and do certain things because they have a plan for the city.
Absolutely.
Mount Vernon appears to be the place where there is no plan, and you can just come in and not only open any kind of business you want, but operate any kind of way you want, because there's no plan or regulations to govern that. So I believe that we desperately, if you're talking about moving the city forward, and we need something along those lines, whatever you want to call it.
That's all of that comes with a time frame. So it takes about a year and a half to get a comprehensive plan done accurately, right? So everything, it has to have an ETA on it. So we're going to be working together to ensure that everything we do, we want to have a start time, a finish time, and collectively work along going forward, to make sure that everything makes sense. But at the end, it's going to benefit the residents first.
And I did ask, I didn't know if it was y'all or the mayor, and was she still listening? And she added, we have a new and very qualified commissioner of planning and community development. We have budgeted for the comprehensive plan and have received a $75,000 grant from New York State for the comprehensive plan for the city. So.
And that is actually great, because a comprehensive plan costs you upwards of $150,000 to $200,000 to get a comprehensive plan done. So that's a great thing that we received monies through a grant so far, but we still gotta pick up the brunt of what's left. So that's exciting news.
Now, Dr. Bob, I've pushed you off like 3 times. It's your turn.
So one thing I just did want to say in response to Cynthia Turnquest-Jones' comment about the surfeit of churches in the city of Mount Vernon is that we do have to be aware that any restriction on the ability of people to use property for the purpose of religious worship would really come very close to violating constitutional liberties.
Absolutely.
Freedom of worship. And I think it's very important for us to bear in mind some of these fundamental rights, given the amount of attention that we're seeing all across the nation over questions of fundamental constitutional rights. And in order for the city to move forward, I don't think that we need to go that far. We need to be very cautious in how we proceed with that.
Absolutely.
I also want to note that the proposed charter reforms included legislation that would require the city to prepare a comprehensive plan every 10 years. And, you know, I know that adopting charter reforms is itself a very complex and lengthy process. But I hope that that's the direction that we're leaning in towards, so that we can make it mandatory that the city continue to look forward to ways to address new challenges that we confront, and try out, you know, new policies for development. Now, there is, I want to raise, and here I'm going to be a sociologist for a minute. The reason that the comprehensive plan is so important, I think all of us recognize, is that Mount Vernon really is suffering from a kind of economic stagnation that is only exacerbating a lot of the social problems that we're having. You know, it's nice to have a well-funded, well-staffed police force, but we really want to make sure that people have ample opportunity for gainful, legitimate employment before they turn to selling drugs. And I speak as someone who was in that position myself many decades ago. Anyone who knows my story knows that I was out there hustling with everybody else back in the 80s and 90s. So this is in no way a criticism that I am immune from. But the reason that this is so important to me is because, you know, in doing research about the city of Mount Vernon, and I don't know if anyone can see this graphic that I'm trying to share, but the Census Bureau and some of our other federal agencies have really begun to develop dynamic data analysis programs that allow us to better see the economic and employment conditions in our city. This comes from what's known as the local employment, the longitudinal employment household data, something like that. And basically what it is showing is that in the city of Mount Vernon, number one, there are 22,000 jobs, people who are employed in the city of Mount Vernon, which you can see here, this figure here. I don't know if anyone can see it, but in addition, there are only 3,564 people in the city of Mount Vernon who are employed in the city of Mount Vernon. Moreover, there's a total of 32,000 people who are gainfully employed who reside in Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon's got about 42,000 people who are over the age of 18, between 18 and 64. We've got 42,000 people. That means we have a 10,000, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If anyone wants these numbers, a connection to it, I'd be glad to share them. But what that means is that we have a 10,000 job shortfall in the city of Mount Vernon, and it should come as no surprise to anyone. Some of those people are out of the labor market for legitimate reasons, but many of them are out the labor market because there's very few local jobs. And
if I can chime in, first I'd like to address the church thing again. I thank God for many of our churches who have been on the front lines through this entire pandemic, who have made their facilities available to our community. I'd like to give a shout out to my church, Greater Centennial, who was a vaccination site. I'll give a shout out to Grace, who is now a site where they can go and get tested and things of that nature. Macedonia has been doing wonderful work. Live Nation Christian Assembly, Faith Christian Assembly, they've been doing great work.
I want to stop you real quick.
Yeah.
I want to thank the mayor for staying along as long as she had and giving her input all along. She's signing off, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. And we will set up the meeting to deal with the other things we will talk about later. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to address that while she was.
No problem. I'm going to send you my bill for interrupting me too. So look for my email.
Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail.
But so the churches have been doing great, and that was just to name a few of the churches, but they've been doing great things in and throughout our city from the start of this pandemic. They've been feeding the community and everything. So kudos to those churches who have been involved outside of their four walls, right? Now getting into the jobs of the city, my grandmother always said to all of her children and grandchildren, if you're a willing worker, there's always work to be done. Right. So a lot of our community for some reason, a lot of us think, and like I said, I like to shoot from the hip, but a lot of us think that jobs are supposed to fall in your lap. No, you got to get up and go out there and interview just like everybody else and get you a job. There are plenty of positions for those who want to work. If you want to work and get a source of income, there are plenty of positions right here in the city of Mount Vernon. But so many people think that many of these jobs are beneath them, and they don't interview for these jobs. We shouldn't even have a job gap in any capacity, because there are jobs all over the place, but you got to show up for these positions. And when you get these positions, take these positions serious enough to not come in late and get terminated. I hope that helped out a little bit, but I can only talk about what I observed.
Council President, I don't disagree with you, but my point is that it is the job of our city leaders and planners to kind of taking the
we have to
larger issues. That's all.
Definitely. We definitely got to bring jobs within the community and appeal to other companies to come inside to bring jobs within our community. But we first have to make sure that our community is beautified, make sure that the residents love the city in which they live, and we are cleaning. So no matter what sector of the city you live in, north, south, east, or west, it needs to look like one Mount Vernon, opposed to looking different when you hit the south side or the north side. And the separation just has to stop. So we have to make sure that our community is beautified in all four sections of this city, and appeal to those businesses we'd like to see in our city to create more jobs. Can we create more jobs? Absolutely. But we have to take care of our city as well to make our city look appealing to the jobs that want to come in.
Yes, thank you, Bob, for that. I was going to tell anybody who wanted the data, they can email Black Westchester, but Bob has already shared his phone number, and he shared a link in the comment section. If for some reason someone watching now or that will watch this afterwards would like the data and did not catch that information, email blackwestchester@gmail.com, and I will make sure that you get forwarded the information that Dr. Bob has.
Yes.
Yes. Anybody else? Everybody got quiet.
Yeah, no. So, we wanted to give Council President his time. We were on talking for a little while, but I think, Ed hit on it. The mayor hit on it in the comments, right? First, we have to change the way our government functions, right? If we want to get companies who want to affiliate themselves with Mount Vernon. Second, we have to get the right hires. And so, as the mayor mentioned, bringing on the planning commissioner, the director of economic development, and those are the director of economic development. That's something that you look to, is how you generate business in the city of Mount Vernon, right? How do we expand that sector? We also have to complete the comprehensive plan. That'll play a part in, figuring out what industries we have where in Mount Vernon and how many jobs that generates, right? So I think there's a lot that plays into the jobs number. And I think if we continue the progress that we've been making, that we will be in a better position come this time next year.
Yeah. And something that I just want to add when it comes to job creation, what we don't have on the books now, which we should have on the books pretty soon, hopefully, is a law that mandates any city contracts have a significant level of MWBE and local participation. When we do have opportunities in city government to create jobs, we got to make sure that those jobs are local. So, for example, when developers want to come to our city, that's great, because there's a lot of reasons why they would want to come here, we have to make sure that they're hiring locally and hiring local businesses. For whatever reason, we haven't done a great job of doing that, but that's one simple way we can make sure that we're creating jobs for people that live here. And then lastly, having job training programs, right? That Mount Vernon not only can create its own jobs, but given where we are, and everyone knows this, we're very close to many other job centers in the region. So someone can live in Mount Vernon. They don't have to work in Mount Vernon. We just want them to work. And so we have to make sure that people living here, residents here, are job ready, whether the job is in Mount Vernon or in New York City or in White Plains or somewhere else. So if we can do those things, and that we will do those things, we can help fill that gap that Dr. Bob talked about.
I definitely wanted to speak about job training, the training programs. Every student that comes out of high school is not always college ready, but can be taught trades that they can, trades. We had a bunch of trades in school when we went to Mount Vernon High School. There was a bunch of trades. I know they're trying to get back. I know they've opened up the kitchen and they've tried to get a few things back, but it's still nowhere near where we grew up. We in addition to the trades, there are a lot of new technology and a lot of a training to update people's skills to be able to compete in the marketplace, not having to take the bottom level jobs, you know what I'm saying, the entry level jobs, but being able to fully compete in where the jobs are going. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that the city needs something.
But AJ, we have to make sure that the community takes advantage of every opportunity when things come into the city, because we all know that everything is ran by numbers, right? So whether it's an after-school program, that after-school program can only function if the numbers show up, right? Any program that comes forth, it needs numbers to continue. So every time we lose a service, it may have been because the numbers didn't line up. So I remember when I was in high school, we had mechanic shop, we had wood shop, we had all these cosmetology, we had everything that you want to learn. A lot of people went into fashion because they learned it at Mount Vernon High School first. So the thing is, when these things are in place, we have to ensure that we take advantage of these programs so they don't diminish and they're always around for not only our generation and generations to come.
Right. And just we also have to empower some of our local organizations to do this type of training also. Utilize the library, utilize the Boys and Girls Club, utilize YCOP, utilize the professionals that we have in the city that are wanting to give back to their community and putting them in a place where we can't put everything on the school district. If they're not in a position to do it, let's partner with somebody else.
Thank you, Caitlin. And a lot of things, it all starts at home. So, when my mother raised the four of her children, she didn't give us a choice. She said, no, you're going to this program, and this is what you're doing when you get out of school at 3. And we hated it that she made decisions for us. But when we got to these programs, we liked it because the programs had so many things to offer, which kids don't know until they become a part of, right? So we have to start placing our children in these programs. And a lot of adults only place their children in programs as looking for a babysitter for the time being. So they know these programs are going on for 2-3 hours. Let me just place them here. But no, you have to take advantage of these programs and say, what can my child actually learn, and how is this program going to benefit my child?
Right. Absolutely.
Well, and we have to do a better job of getting the information out there too, because I find out the information doesn't always trickle down to the people that need it the most.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because what this council is going to do, and I'm sure the mayor and comptroller's office is going to do as well, but we want to have a blueprint set forth. So everything that I know, I ensure, and this council can attest to it, I ensure that they know everything I know. And if I learned anything different, I want to make sure that I turnkey it and make sure that the new council persons know it as well, because the vision should never just die with Derrick. We need to have a blueprint in place to say, this is where we are, this is the direction we're going. And if anyone comes behind me, they can see exactly what our goal is. so no one ever drops the ball, because we've had decades of people just dropping the ball in our community, and that should never be so. So we need a blueprint in place to say this is where we started, this is where we are, and this is the goal we like to achieve.
I want to say, I know, Bob, I'm sorry. I wanted to do something, and I want to address first a lot of the listeners. A lot of people, I said this forum would be about how we're moving forward and not necessarily we're dealing with things that have happened previously. There have been a lot of questions about Caitlin and the libraries. I'm not going to answer those questions, but I do have a question for Caitlin to address certain things, and I've asked her personally, one, because I don't know the answer. Is it a conflict of interest for you to serve on the city council and you to be a library trustee? And if so, do you plan on giving up one of your positions?
No, it is not a conflict of interest. There's nothing that comes before city council that has to do with the Mount Vernon Public Library. If it did, I would recuse myself from that. Am I continuing on the library board? I'm still there right now. There's a lot of projects in place that I would like to finish, and then we'll revisit that then.
Okay. And again, we're not going to, all that other stuff has been highly publicized. You all know what it is. We're trying to see how we're moving forward. That's where I'm trying to keep this conversation. Dr. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah. To piggyback on your comment about the need to establish some sort of continuity in governance and policy, one of the recommendations that I'd like the city council to consider is some sort of legislation that's going to ensure a smooth transition between administrations. It has been my observation that on several occasions now, outgoing administrations have been less than cooperative.
Absolutely.
And seeing that the new administration is able to immediately pick up to get the budgets enacted, to come up to speed. And unfortunately, my sense is that a lot of this has been driven by politics and sour grapes. And we have to find ways to minimize it. And so I'd like to urge the council, as you contemplate the blueprint that you just mentioned, Council President.
In a perfect world, yes, in a perfect world, that's how it's supposed to happen, right? Within the last, so you have your primary in June in Westchester, right? And then you have your general election in November. Once it's solidified that any person has won in November, right? That following day, up to that following week, you should always have the transition process in place. So the first day should not be the first of the year. It should always be, this is where we are. Let me show you what we have. Let me show you what we're trying to do. So now you're at the table as they're going out, you coming in, that smooth transition is there. And we have the capability of doing that here in Mount Vernon. We have the capability of being the pilot for every other city. Because right now, Mount Vernon, we control the narrative. We control how people view our city. And we should have these kind of things in place to ensure that there are smooth transitions. That's, that should be common sense, but we know that common sense is not as common as we like it to be. But if we want things to run smoothly and properly, we have to get out of our own way and do what's right by the city. And doing what's right by the city is saying, listen, you may have lost an election, but put on your big drawers and make sure that this transition is ran smoothly. Because at the end of the day, our common ground should always be what's best for the city and the residents alike.
I just want to add a little commentary. So nationally, I keep hearing all of this about there was not a peaceful transfer of power. And I'm like, that describes the last few administrations of Mount Vernon somewhat. So, so if we could work on creating that, that would be also a start in the right direction. We're coming to the close of the show. I want to give each council person 2 minutes or so to talk about any agenda they have, any plans for the future, working together, moving the city forward, any words that you would like to get out to the public right now. We heard from you on what you would do before you got the job. You have been elected. Now we'd like them to hear from you for the first time as elected officials. Ed, start it off, because that's why you're smiling.
Got it. Sure. I want to say I'm, thankful and grateful to the voters for sure, for helping myself and Danielle and Cathlin get in this position. It's really your hard work and effort that allowed us, and believing in our message that allowed us to be here. I'm excited with our team, and I mean our entire team. So Council President Thompson, Councilwoman Copeland, the mayor, and the comptroller. Again, I think that you're going to see a level of cooperation and collaboration, not rubber stamping, that we haven't seen here in the city for quite a while. But lastly, us 7 people can't do this alone. That we can't. AJ, we need you. Dr. Bob, we need you. We need those ministers that we talked about in those churches. We need educators. We need store owners. We really do need everyone pulling and helping to move our city forward. Nothing good happens without hard work. And the more that we work collectively, the more good things that we can get done. We all understand that Mount Vernon is in trouble right now. Like Danielle said, come back and see us in a year. And I'm prayerful that that narrative will be different, but it will only be different if that level of apathy that we've gotten used to because of the civil wars in City Hall, now that that's going away, we need you as the residents, and you, AJ, and you, Dr. Bob, I'm going to mention both of you, to plug in to what we're doing. Help us spread that message, and please plug in any skills that you have, please call us and bring it to the table, please.
Cathlin.
You know what? I'm just excited to get to work, to be quite honest with you. If I could pinpoint one particular thing that we have to get done, that's obviously the budget, but I'm excited to just get to work. I mean, it is a lot of work, and I'm up for the challenge.
Danielle, I picked you last this time because I picked you first the first time. So,
Sorry, my mouse wasn't cooperating. I couldn't get to the mute button. But thank you for your fairness, AJ. I appreciate that. So I'm excited like everyone else is excited, right? I think there's a few things that I'm excited about: increasing transparency. We've been in office not even 7 days, and there's some progress on things that, that we didn't have previously. On those things. We've worked to create a legislative agenda. I know Dr. Bob was talking about it earlier, and that will be released to the public hopefully this week. And we'll make sure Black Westchester gets a copy of it, and the residents. It'll be posted everywhere. So, pay attention to the social media of the city, pay attention to the social media of the council to see those things as well. And also the cmvny.com city council page, right? So I'm excited to get to work. Like Cathlin said, we spent a year talking about all the things we wanted to do, and now it's actually time to do the work. So I look forward to working with folks. Cynthia Turnquest-Jones asked what are some things that the public can do in the next 6 months. Attend the work session meetings. They happen on Monday nights before the city council meeting. I posted twice in the comments on Facebook Live the link to the city council meeting. Come, show up, ask questions, get on the agenda. You can get on the agenda by calling the clerk's office by 3 p.m. the day of a meeting. We talked about organizations that need to be started, helping people understand the charter more. That doesn't solely have to come from elected officials. That can come from interested residents as well. So help us tackle some of those things as well. Other than that, I'm excited to get to work, and thank you for having us on, and Happy New Year again to everyone.
Councilman Derrick Thompson, as council president.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to just keep moving in the right direction for our city. I was just writing down a little quote that I share with my students, and if we all repeated that to ourselves on a daily basis, I'm sure we'll do better in our city. And that quote is just, I am eager to be the change I want to see. First, that change has to start with me. So we got to constantly say that to ourselves on a daily basis, and opposed to focusing on the drama of the city, just saying, what can I do that's going to better our city together, right? And no decisions or nothing that goes on in the city can be done by one person alone. We all live here and we have to work together. So with that being said, let me end with my number is 914-840-4024. I answer all of my phone calls. That's my office number, of course. I answer all the calls. I get back to every person who leaves a message. If you leave me an email, I also answer my emails. I don't shy away from any conversation. So hit me up, and I'm at your disposal.
And everybody, for a shrimp po' boy and a Heineken, I'll give you his cell phone number. No, I'm just playing. No, not just playing. No, I just want to thank all of y'all for coming on. One of the things that y'all said that was very important is that one person can't do it. The 70 of y'all can't do it. I want to say that there's been a lot of comments and stuff. There's been a lot of questions that I didn't get to. I'll go into
the chat if I can and try to answer some things if I see it.
Right. One community media source can't cover everything and get everybody's questions answered and please everybody. I tried to put something together to move forward to start the year off, something that really hadn't been done in previous years. And in the effort of turning the page on our side, you know what I'm saying? Someone told me, am I going to hold y'all accountable? I said, for what? They won an election and they swore in. What did they do? What am I holding them accountable for? Like, what am I criticizing them for?
But that's how the drama starts.
Right. What did they do? I got to give them a chance to do something. So
your question, your answer to that is, are they holding themselves accountable?
Well, yeah.
And that means, are they doing everything they can to, be a great citizen within the city?
Right. So I say to everybody, you can't. The secret of success is trying to please everybody. I did what I did today the best way that I know how. This is my effort of stepping forward and Black Westchester being involved in helping move the city forward.
Good job, AJ.
We appreciate that.
I did throw a question at the mayor that there was no way for her to answer during that time, and because I was getting text about it. But we will do a separate forum. We're doing something separate on the police, the DOJ investigation, and I will give her a separate time as well to address more of the issues of the city. Today was just about what everybody is going to do to move things forward. I also wanted to be clear. I wanted to give the three candidates, they just got elected, I wanted to give them a forum to speak. Then I said, Councilman Derrick Thompson just became council president, so let me get him at the end. I don't want this to go out that was an obvious snub that I did not invite Lisa Copeland. It had nothing to do with anything other than Derrick Thompson has a new position and they're new council persons, and I wanted to move forward with that. So I just want to put that out there because I've already got text.
If I can say, AJ, I appreciate you for having this forum today. And I say with every speech that I give, you can never please everybody, but you can always do right by everybody, and a lot of us get caught up in trying to please everybody. But I thank you for having this forum so everyone can at least hear from the council members, the mayor, and the new city council president. And I'm just looking forward to all of us working together. And that's not only the elected officials, but Dr. Bob and AJ and Culturally Lit and everybody like that. So with that being said, you can even invite the mayor to do an hour with you on the radio as well as live. So, but it's just getting the word out and let's.
Maybe I can do that. Right. the constant promoter. So I will be filling in for the Culturally Lit show for 2 weeks, and one of them is tomorrow. So the constant promoter over here, maybe we will do that tomorrow and do that on VOX. I mean, it's shorter. It's like 39 minutes with all the commercials. It's not a full hour. Maybe we can further the conversation there. But on this show, in this forum, we will give her at least an hour, or maybe 2 hours, whatever I can get in, and we will have her address. And we will definitely open it to the community, where the community can ask reasonable questions. No, because every question is not reasonable. I'm serious. I'm not trying to be funny, yo, for real.
Right.
Every question is not reasonable. And if I can ask one thing, moving the city forward, and everything that y'all say, y'all are going to disagree. And I hope that you learn from your predecessors that when you do disagree, that you attack the issues and not the person. You understand what I'm saying? Because that was a lot of what was going on. We're talking about the person and attacking the person, their family, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that has nothing to do with moving forward. Like, you can never, I'm not going to respond well to that. So you're going to get no cooperation out of me. Like, I'm keeping it real, so I hope to see that. I said to the mayor when I called her to set this show up, I said, I wish you well. I also said, as much as I could use some money, you couldn't give me $1 million to take her place, and that goes with all of you. I would not take your place right now in this time that we're in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Y'all probably will not get, like I wrote, a traditional honeymoon period. People are going to expect results on day 3. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, and that happens a lot when you've gone from administration to administration and administration, and nothing has happened as far as you're concerned. So now you're in a state of urgency and you want everything now. You know what I'm saying? So we have to have reasonable expectations as well.
Absolutely.
And that I want to say to the residents, and the residents, you have a role to play in all of this. Politics is a participatory sport. You have to be the change you want to see. What are you bringing to the table? Everybody has a role to play. This is what I do. So I'm trying to play my role. You understand what I'm saying? There's other things you can do. A tutoring program, being a mentor, being a big brother. There's things you can do. And everybody, if we do what we can do individually, collectively, we can all move forward, and we can move the city to where it needs to be. There are a lot of people, some close to me, who have given up on Mount Vernon, who have said there's no hope for this city, who said the city just needs to be blown up. You know what I'm saying? But the difference is, even though I didn't live here all my life, I was born here. I went to high school here. I live here now. You know what I'm saying? I want to see the city do well.
But AJ, if I can, this body of the council, we want to not only have our city council meetings, but we want to make sure that we have a couple of town halls throughout the year to ensure that the community can get involved and they can converse about what their concerns are. But I tell people, it's okay to bring your problems, but also have suggestive solutions as well. So don't just present your problem, say this is what I identify, and this is one way I think we can resolve it. And that's how you get everything figured out. So it's okay to bring your problems, but also identify a solution.
I will be extending an invitation to the controller later. I think maybe a reasonable portion. I'm going to talk to him first. We exchange cell numbers. What he thinks is in my mind, I think a 90-day point where he's had time to look at everything, come up with a plan. If he thinks that sooner is better, then we will do it sooner. But I will be reaching out to him this week. We will discuss bringing him on, because he definitely is not getting a honeymoon period. Everybody wants something. They want to know what the hell's going on with that office. Mr. Poteat said, see us in a year. and see what we have done. Well, I'm extending the invitation to the three of you from a year from today to appear here and talk about what has happened and not happened. So
let's do it.
And I'm glad we got people tuning in, and this is the way it's supposed to be. Our new controller said thank you. Looking forward to it, AJ. So I will be in touch. Just so you know, I'm going to be in touch with him, and I will be in touch with the mayor to see what's going on with that, and trying to make it happen. That's it. I hope that everybody got something out of this. I hope this is a turning of a page. I hope that we are all doing what we need to do. Again, it's good to criticize, but come up with some solutions. What are you going to do about it? What part of the change are you going to play? We have to stop electing people and expecting them to be a savior and save us and wave some kind of magic wand and heal our city by themselves or whatever. It's going to take all of us at this point. And I preach that all the time. So thank you all for extending your time. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Bob.
Thank you.
Pleasure being with everyone.
Collectively, I will start paying attention to the city council meetings again, because I kind of took a hiatus for over a year because I just didn't see a reason why.
Well, I'll make sure I
Maybe he's giving you hope.
Yeah, so I will try to now AJ, the school board needs a special focus. Okay. Please email me and maybe we can do that too. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Most importantly,
thank you, AJ. Thank you, Dr.
You could be doing anything right now, but you decided to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This has been the first episode of the year of a Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. We are on every Sunday, 6 to 8, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn with a couple of special editions in between. Until next week, peace.
Later.
You are now tuned into the People Before Politics radio show, brought to you by the good folks at
Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Check the newspaper. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Check the newspaper.
Real talk for the community since 2014.